You found water again, but you're also actually drilling into rocks. Now, this is the first. This is your groundbreaking science on Mars. Talk about what you're doing there, where you're actually drilling into the ground.
Yeah, this is a huge step forward for us technologically, because before we were able to drive up to rocks and sort of scrape them a little bit and look at them. But now what we've got is a drill. And it kind of works like the drill that you'd go pick up at Home Depot. It drills holes in concrete, but when you snap it that extra notch, it starts hammering. And so we put our drill down, and we go into it about the depth of about 1.5 inches, something like that. And then we take the powder, take the arm around, and then dump it into the rover.
So in the entire time you've been on Mars now, how far has Curiosity traveled in feet or yards or football fields?
Yeah. We've gone about 2 football fields, and it's been about 9 months. And what happened was, after we landed, we realized we had a hunch, and rather than drive to the mountain, which was something that we had been planning on doing.
Go west, young man.
Yeah, we went east instead.
Okay.
And nobody could figure out why. And we had told the media that we were going to drive to the mountain, and they said, "What are you doing? You're going the opposite direction." And so, we had to explain to them that we had this hunch, but they'd have to wait and be patient. And so eventually, we drove down into this place where we drilled this hole in the rock based on the hunch, and it turned out that instead of getting red Mars, we got gray Mars. And that was really when we knew that we were on our way to a pretty good habitability story.
So what does that mean? We're not just a red planet anymore.
Right. So what you can look at, it's this kind of a cool picture, because you can see the hole that we drilled, and the powder, the rock is converted into powder. And then if you look up to the upper left, you can see the red planet. That's red Mars. It's red because there's iron in the dust in the soil. But the gray stuff tells us that there's iron in that rock, but it's in a different chemical state, and one that's much more promising for it having been a habitable environment if there are ever microbes there.
And this is happening where? You have a name for this area of Mars?
Yeah, it's a place that we drove the rover downhill into sort of a little depression, and the team decided to call it Yellowknife Bay. And then, because this is the first hole that's ever been drilled on another planet, we named it after one of our lead engineers who passed away shortly before the mission, a fellow called John Klein. And so we dedicated the first hole on Mars in his memory.
And so you take the powder, you put it inside the belly, and then what happens? How can you tell you have never held a Martian rock. How do you know what's in a Martian rock?
Yeah, well, it's hard. The problem is it's a little bit like baking a cake. What we do is, we take the rock, we drill the hole into it, we take the powder, we put it into the instrument in the rover, and it kind of works like an oven. And so what's happening is we start heating it up. That oven heats up, and it gets really, really hot, goes up to maybe 1,500 degrees centigrade. And as it's cooking away, just like you walk into the kitchen and you can tell there's a cake in the oven because you smell it. You can't see it. You don't know that there's a cake in there for sure, but you can smell the vapors coming off. And so we collect those gases, and then we analyze them, and that's what tells us what's in the rock.
And you found?
And we found a lot of interesting chemicals and minerals that would have been the kind of things that if simple microorganisms had been there, they would have been able to live off those.